In this week's podcast, which will be another short one, I will tell you that I think the markets has a higher chance of going up than going down. I will also give you 4 stocks which I think might do good and tell you why I'm reducing some of my exposure in the market. You just have to stay tuned if you want to hear it all. By the way, you're listening to the StockInvest.us podcast, Trading Tips with Jim, and of course then I will be Jim. All you have to do is subscribe and like if you like the podcast, and here we go. For the week ahead of us, there is no big events coming up. The biggest will maybe be on Thursday with jobless numbers. Last week's jobless numbers beat the market and even my expectations. I was expecting that the unemployment rate would increase to 4.3, but instead it dropped to 4.1%. Market being very very steady. And that gave Powell another reason why to keep interest rates at current level. But everyone seems to agree with me that Powell will have to cut much harder, much faster than what he is signaling. More about that in just a little bit. So these are the main events, these jobless numbers on Thursday, and of course there will be a lot of talk around the tariff trades. We are heading for a quiet week, and it's why I will make a shorter podcast. No need to make such a long one. There will be some quarter results, but they are not any major one. It will be AHR test systems on Tuesday. Tomorrow expected swing will be 6.7%. They are expected to release a earning of negative 2 cents, by the way. So if you are able to bet which way AHR will go, you can probably do a 6.7% up or down swing on AHR. On Thursday will be Delta Airlines. Delta Airlines is a little bit more interesting from other perspective, but in general I think the following about airlines, companies, etc. Fuel costs are going down. Energy costs in general are going down, and I think this can spur a lot of cheaper tickets and again increase traveling quite much. So airline companies, if you find the correct one, might just be a place where you want to be. VD40, most known for the VD40 spray, will also have quarter results on Thursday, expected to swing 3.3%. Both Delta and VD is expected to have reduced earnings per share. Delta Airlines is expected to reduce earnings by 15.7%. From $2.36 last time per share till $1.99 per share this time. I'm not sure that will happen, but if you get it correct, the minimum expected swing is 6%. And by the way, these expected swings, they come from some algorithms that we developed, looked at the previous earnings for companies, how they reacted after earnings results have been released. And based on this innovative system, you are able to say somewhat what will happen. And it's turned out to be quite accurate, by the way. So with quarter results coming to an absolute end, very little happening in this week. Again, we are back to the geopolitical issues. But if you look at the charts, and we want to do that, we see that the Nasdaq is in a very nice rising trend. What I like the very most about it is that it's such good support levels below. It had a golden cross, not a golden star, but a golden cross some 2 to 3 weeks ago, indicating that it will just continue to push higher. There is nothing in the chart saying that Nasdaq should go down. If it does, there will be enormous support just above 19,000 points. If we look at the long-term chart, we can see that Nasdaq is getting to the top of the trend, but coming from a very low RSI position, indicating that there is plenty of room to break up from that slight more or less horizontal moving trend over the last good year, to finally break up. And if it happens, it signals that Nasdaq should push upwards to 25,000 points. Looking at all of this, it is actually a higher chance that we are in for a very strong period of growth in the markets. But you can read anyone else, you can listen to anyone else but me, and they say that we are in for a huge fall. Who will be correct remains to see. I'm just telling you what I see, and for me it looks like we're heading up. Just like I told you, we were heading for all-time high, and markets are setting all-time high. I mean, last week Nasdaq was up 1.62%, Dow Jones up 2.3%, S&P 500 up 1.72%. I expected a volatile week. It became a volatile week, ending in green, and this week looked just the same. As I said, there's a fair chance that the markets will go up. I believe that is higher than it will go down, especially Nasdaq looks very promising. The reason why I think Nasdaq look promising is because if you look at the buy and the sell signals, we can see that Nasdaq has only 24% buy signals. And among all the bigger indexes markets that we analyze, Nasdaq is the one with the lowest amount of buy signals. If we look at the New York Stock Exchange, it's up at 51%. Across all, it's 45%. We go down to London, we see 50, we see 46% in Oslo, we see 40% in Frankfurt, we see 47% in National Stock Exchange of India, 43 in Tokyo, and 55 in China. So why is 24 low? It just means there is a lot of companies that has the potential to trigger from sell or hold over to buy signals. When we are getting as high as 45 and we see some up at 50, indicates that these markets are getting near a top. And as I said last week, we are heading for what should be a short-term reaction, but I'm not sure if it will happen this week. I started the podcast saying that I will reduce a little of my exposure because I went all in when markets was being hammered with tariff trades, more than I've done in years, and now I'm slightly reducing a little bit. One of the stocks which I'm reducing is Tesla, and I also told you this last week. I will continue to reduce a little bit in Tesla, and not because I have a very nice profit, not only that, but Musk is getting a little bit too much into politics. I think that will hurt the company. I'm very bullish to Tesla, by the way. I believe it will do very good. I just hope that I can do a flip trade, selling out a little bit now and accumulate more if it dips down again. Hopefully I will be able to, because I believe Tesla and the stock price of Tesla will be much higher if we look some years ahead. Remember, it will be about robotics, it will be about self-driving taxis, and a lot more. What other arguments is there for me being so bullish to the markets? Well, in general, energy, and I told you this over and over again, energy is going down. Oil at $66 and under pressure, meaning that is pressuring downwards. It's such a good thing for the world economy. It spurs productivity, and Germany was releasing numbers now showing that their productivity again is going up. Germany was one of those hit hardest by the increase in energy cost, causing for more than 3 black years for Germany. Finally, things are going up. And when production output goes up, more products are being produced again, prices will go down. That is why I believe we are heading for very low inflation, and we're heading for rate cuts across all boards, which again just will spur house prices and general consumption, meaning plenty of room for companies. And why I especially point out Nasdaq is because a lot of the tech companies was beaten over the last few years. There are so many of these companies that has great potential, great products, and I think some of them will finally come up. And I know for sure, since most of you listening to this podcast are not at the very professional end, more in the medium range, most of you will be sitting or are sitting right now in stocks which haven't done very good at all. I believe many of these finally will find the time to grow. With buy signals being so high, as I said, we are heading towards some sort of correction, but it's not high enough to really be scared, but it's getting closer. And in this scenario, I like to do what I always do. I reduce my exposure a little bit. I get a little bit more into cash. And then if something happens, it could be escalation in some war. It could be anything. You never know. Markets take a huge dip. Some panic increases. We're not in the level where it's too overbought. But when it happens, and you suddenly get these huge falls, I buy like I always have and always will. Gold, by the way, is at 3,320. I see some argue now it should go to 5,000, but I don't think that, as you know, I sold out of gold. And I gave you the reasons and the arguments. After buying gold at 1,600, I sold out at 2,950 plus. To see gold go up to 3,500, by my investment was originally bought in euro. It was sold, converted back to euro, and dollar has ever since gone from 102 to 1.17 against the euro, meaning that actually I am in plus. Converted to, if we convert this to the selling price, the gold is now 2008 compared to what I sold for. Get me correct? Gold is 3,320. I'm just comparing how I bought and sold. I will go into gold if gold gets the fall, which I think it will. I think it will fall to 2,500 before finding a bottom. I really absolutely want to get back into gold because I believe very much in gold and Bitcoin. And Bitcoin had such a nice upturn, hitting $110,000, and I believe in any minute now it will pop very hard. That brings me to 1 out of 4 stock tips because Applied Science Products, APLD, is one company which is heavily shorted in the markets, but they are betting towards Bitcoin doing good. And I believe that it might be a possible short squeeze coming up in APLD, Applied Science Products. Absolutely interesting company to look at. Doesn't have to happen, but I think it's a fair chance, and I will tell you how it goes as we move forward. I checked another company which also is quite shorted, Symbiotic, SYM Symbiotic, also shows very good potential. Then there is one company that I never really liked, Groupon, but Groupon is heavily shorted, but in a very nice trend, and I think there is more room for Groupon to grow. I gave you all the arguments. I said that Nasdaq is down at 24% price signals, while everyone else is highly priced. There are some companies at Nasdaq which are in the lower price range, which means that I think they have some upside. Groupon actually being one of these companies. So there you have 3 companies. They are very much shorted. All of them lies in what I consider to be okay or nice trend positions. Some of them are pushing already quite high and can go much higher. Symbiotic, I believe, is in overbought but can continue during the week. We will see if I'm right or wrong. You just have to follow because you will know next week how it went. The last company is Future Earnings Company. It is another system that we just developed. You will find it if you go to stockinvest.us. You use the Pro analysis and you will see that we added a new tool looking at what the expert thinks about future earnings. Based on historic earnings, was able to say how correct they were with the prediction, how the price went. And we do some magic and we try to then tell how the future will be. One of the companies that is expected to move the most if the earnings come in as they think is a insurance company called Root Inc. Root Inc. is supposed to go quite much over the next 20 months and will be one of the companies that we will follow. 14 minutes into the podcast, I think it is time to wrap it up. Why make it much longer? Only one thing remains, and that is the $1,000 challenge, where I try to grow $1,000 as fast as I can. Made it from $1,000 to $2,514. We're up at $4,000, but I went into NEO way too early. It has been a pain ever since. The stock is down 31% since I got in. I have such a strong belief that NEO will, and it's expected to deliver very good quarter results. Numbers came out before the weekend saying that the NEO is increasing output of cars by 25%, so they are on the projection which they self-claim. They have claimed that they will go from minus to plus in quarter 4, meaning that if anything happens with the stock price, it should start anytime soon. I stay in NEO because I'm so great belief in NEO, maybe too much bias because I outside the $1,000 challenge. I have a huge chunk in to NEO because I believe, as I said, I believe there is a huge potential upside. Much of these will come around depending on tariffs, about global trade, etc., and all of these things. But I feel more optimistic than I ever have. By the way, media is still negative, and that is absolutely what I like to see. When media is starting to get positive, you can be sure that I will reduce my exposure even more. Right now, I am sitting around 92%, way too much into the market. During the week, I hope to reduce it down to 85, despite believing that we will go for a much stronger upturn ahead. I hope you will have just a beautiful week ahead. I hope you enjoy the summer. I hope you are relaxing, and if you are on holiday, I hope you have a super duper holiday. I hope you will be back next week when I will be back with trading tips with Jim. Until then, bye.
Welcome to StockInvest.US Stock Analysis. We remind you that trading involves a high risk of losing money, and that you should speak with a financial advisor before buying or selling any securities. You should not base your investment decision upon StockInvest.US. By using the information you agree and are held liable for your own investment decisions.